Cable Bahamas has always been considered the innovator.
People can have confidence in Cable Bahamas as a mobile operator because of our past history. We've proven to the Bahamian community that we are in fact able to manage additional services as a telecommunications company.
Customers expect the best from Cable Bahamas.
The technology that we bring is revolutionary technology because we know that the Bahamian public, they deserve it, and Cable Bahamas is here to bring it to them.
We are ready. Turn us on.
Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into NB12 Weekend, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, the Minister of State for Legal Affairs says the PLP is not for Dr. Andre Rollins' kind. The Labor Minister slams critics of NHI. The private sector welcomes the minimum wage increase, plus a special song for all dads this Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. I'm Paige McCartney. We've got those stories and more straight ahead on NB12 Weekend. Welcome once again to MB12. Since the resignation of Fort Charlotte MP Dr. Andre Rollins from the Progressive Liberal Party, a number of cabinet ministers and PLP supporters have come to the defense of the party and its leadership. Minister of State for Legal Affairs Damian Gomez has added to the chorus, saying the party is not for people who want to come and go as they please. Gomez, who was also critical of the resignation of Marco City MP Greg Moss last week, said the stability of the PLP does not hinge on the departure of young members.
I have no problem with people exercising their freedom of dissociation or association. The PLP is not a convenience. For people who want to be in and out, that's entirely up to them. But we have very serious fiscal issues that we are confronting.
Before resigning on Wednesday, Rollins lashed out at the Christie administration, saying the justice system in the country has been severely undermined, calling it the most politicized office of the Attorney General in the history of the Bahamas. Rollins pointed to the entering of a nolle prosequi in the gun case involving former clients of Attorney General Alison Maynard Gibson, the handling of Michael MP v. Alfred Gray's alleged judicial interference case, and the decision to withhold the Black and Beach report into the Rubis fuel spill in the Marathon constituency. Gomez said Rollins should not make statements he cannot prove.
There have been occasions in the past when the Attorney General has had to make a deliberation about whether to commence a proceeding or not in relation to political colleagues.
He added that none of the rules that govern the Office of the Attorney General have changed in favor of this administration.
We have not changed any of our laws relating to the office that determines whether a criminal prosecution begins or when it ends. The same system that existed in 2012 exists now.
Rollins and Moss have both been vocal about their discontent with many of government's policies, particularly the implementation of value-added tax. Gomez said the alternative policies suggested by Rollins and Moss could not work for the country and applauded the hard decisions Prime Minister Perry Christie has made to protect the poor and vulnerable in the country. While Minister of Labor and National Insurance Shane Gibson is slamming critics who have blasted the government's plans to implement national health insurance next year, Gibson specifically hit out at insurance companies that are thinking more about their bottom line than the well-being of Bahamians. Here's Jasmine Brown.
Gibson says while there is still a lot of noise in the marketplace, the fact remains that NHI will be implemented in January.
One thing we know for sure is come January 2016, we'll roll out the first phase of the national health insurance.
The Bahamas Insurance Association lashed out at the Christie administration this week for what it called inadequate consultation with the country's insurance industry on the January 2016 implementation of national health insurance. BIA officials also slammed Minister of Health Dr. Perry Gomez as totally disingenuous for suggesting increased collaboration between the government and private sector during his recent budget communication. They say they are frustrated by the lack of sector consultation. However, Gibson called their claims nonsense and insisted there have been regular meetings.
They're not telling you we're not meeting with them. They're saying there's insufficient consultation. And as I said on the show, if we meet once a week, they want to meet twice. If we meet twice, they want to meet 3 times. Because they cannot say we're not meeting. The only thing they could say is as long as they don't have their way and they don't get what they want, then they would say we don't have sufficient consultation.
Gibson said while some stakeholders feel the government is not listening to them, that's simply not true. He said the decision to introduce NHI in phases shows government is listening to the noise in the market.
We have been having consultation meetings with all of the stakeholders, from insurance providers, brokers, technicians, doctors, all of the stakeholders in the industry. And we have modified our position as a result of some of the meetings that we had with them. We didn't think it was ambitious, but I'm saying is the industry thought it was too ambitious. And so we compromised with them and we said, okay, if it's too ambitious, we'll start off, because we wanted to make sure we kept them included in what we were doing. And they participated. Like I said, initially we wanted to go to single payer model, and they convinced us that, as a compromise, let's look at the multi-payer model. Well, all of the providers can continue to participate at various levels. And so that's what we did.
The Christie administration recently confirmed that it would not introduce any new taxes to fund the scheme at this time. Instead, the 2015-2016 budget includes an additional $60 million allocation to finance NHI for the first year. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation is welcoming government's proposed increase to the private sector's minimum wage. Chamber CEO Edison Sumner said the private sector had no difficulty with the figure. The intended wage increase to $210 per week for private sector employees, up from $150, was the result of a recommendation from the National Tripartite Council, which launched in March. The council brings together representatives from the government, private sector, and national trade unions, according to Sumner.
We came up with a number, and we presented that number to the other social partners, and we had a separation, right? So we all couldn't agree on a certain number because the trade unions were coming in between $250 and $350. The government had their price set at about $225, I think. And we came in at $204. So we thought that there has to be compromise somewhere. So we said if the government and the trade unions were prepared to come down, we were prepared to come up on our number. And so we agreed that the compromise was $210.
Sumner said the chamber consulted with small and large businesses in the country and proposed the $210 figure following discussions with the International Labor Organization and other international partners, which they eventually accepted. He said it was a compromise he's pleased with.
We are. I mean, we thought the numbers that one of the trade union bodies was suggesting at 350 was totally out of whack. I mean, there's no way that this economy and the private sector could have absorbed a $350 minimum wage increase. It just could not happen.
Sumner stressed, however, that the next step in advancing the national labor force rests in improving worker productivity.
Because we all agree that we want to ensure that workers in the country are properly compensated. We want to ensure also, though, that there are skill sets and level of productivities in the workforce that will be commensurate with the level of pay that they're going to get. And we all want to see people earn more money, but we also want to see an increase in the level of productivity coming from the workforce as well, right? Because we're losing a lot of money on lack of productivity, not having in place all of the requisite skill sets that are always necessary and needed to advance certain industries in the country. So the employers are now taking it upon themselves to ensure that their staff is properly and adequately trained in certain areas.
And from the police tonight, 2 men were arrested after allegedly abducting a woman early this morning. Reports are that just after 1:30 this morning, a woman was walking along Dunmore Street off Market Street when 2 men forced her into a silver Honda vehicle and then sped off. A short while later, police on patrol spotted the vehicle on Collins Avenue. Once the men spotted the police, though, they pushed the woman out of the vehicle and sped off, but police chased them until their vehicle crashed on Chesapeake Road. The suspects, both aged 26, fled on foot but were later caught by Kemp Road area police. The woman was taken to hospital for examination and later released. Investigations continue.